for Kidada, my baby half cousin. And I said, well, she's not here yet. She's not home from school. Now, mind you, my half cousin would have been either in 8th grade or 9th grade. I'm not quite sure. But she asked for her. I said, she's not here. Can I take a message? And this woman gives me this really long ass message. And I try to remember all this crap, but it's like, this message is like, it's she's taking shots at my ass. You know, in the moment, I didn't see it as her taking shots at me. But when I think back, when I reflect back on the conversation, on the message, I'm like, this bitch is taking shots at me. Again, let's go back to 2013, 2012, when, unbeknownst to the public, Chilli and Usher are back together. Even though he committed this ultimate no-no per Chilli. Couldn't have been that much of an ultimate no-no if she got back with his ass. So, she's taking shots at me, and I'm going to spare you all of that. I'm going to let Chilli answer that shit and tell you exactly what the fuck she said. But what I think happened was, when she called and spoke to my cousin, Kidada, my baby half cousin, I think that Kidada told her that I liked Usher Raymond. Like, I liked him in a romantic sense. Not liked him like his music or whatever. Here's why. At some point, after that phone call, like days later, a week later, whatever, Kidada asked me whether or not I like Usher Raymond. She's asked me, I went in her bedroom, and I asked her, and I was looking for something. And she asked me, do you like Usher? I said, Usher Raymond? The singer? I said, the black guy who sings? She said, yeah. I say, what do you mean? I mean, I like his music. I don't know all his music. I have to admit to you that. I don't know all his music. I know his first album because that's from my day. And I don't really know the songs after that. I only know the songs that played on the radio. When I would come from the Southwest to the East Coast to visit, my family, they listened to like R&B, stuff like that. I didn't really listen to that kind of music. I listened to some R&B back from my day, but even back when I was a teenager, I used to listen to rock music. I really used to listen to alternative rock and pop music, and then I listened to R&B. But when I lived in the Southwest, I pretty much just listened to pop radio. And so I didn't really know his music like that. And plus I listened to EDM too, which is electronic dance music. So I didn't really know his music like that. I would only hear songs that played on the radio. If it played on the radio, then out on the stations that I listened to, then I would hear it. But otherwise, I really didn't hear his music like that, you know? Same thing like with like Nicki Minaj. The only reason why I knew who Nicki Minaj was is because she had a song playing on the radio. I think it was with Trey Songz. I heard that song. And then I heard her do the Starship song. That song played on pop radio. So I really didn't know his music like that. So I told her this. I'm like, I don't really know his music beyond what I hear on the radio here and there. So when I go back and forth from the East Coast to the Southwest, I would hear songs out here, but I don't really know his music. I know the first album, and even to this day, I don't know his first album as well as I used to. But if I listen to his music, I'm probably gonna listen to his first album. That's what I know. And little songs here and there when I would travel back and forth East Coast to Southwest and back and forth. And yes, they will play some of his songs on pop radio, but not really. It would have to be something like EDM inspired. Like I think he did EDM song, and he did another song, but it was like it had to be more pop infused, right? Okay, so I didn't really know his music like that. So I told her, I said, yeah, I like his music, but I don't really know him like that. I mean, I don't like him. Like if you mean like him, like as in putting a poster on my wall type of shit. Like no, I don't like him like that. Not my type, but I like his music from his first album. So just setting that out. I think that my baby half cousin told Chilli, yes, I do believe that was Chilli who called the house. I'm going to tell you why as I continue the story. I think that, one, my baby half cousin wrote a letter to TLC's fan club, talking mad shit about me. Now, what could she have possibly told her? Well, my grand, not related to them because I told you, we only share a grandmother. That is it. My half aunt and my mom share a mother. That's it. And so on my mom's side of the family, on her side, my grand was very special in this world. I'll just say that. And my family knows this crap, and they have made it a point of telling people, for whatever reason, from the time I was a baby in diapers, they would tell the neighbors, and neighbors would tell their kids, and the neighbors would tell their grandkids and crap, who my gran was, right? And who that makes me. And that only makes me this. It doesn't make anybody else in my family this, because of another story of how my gran made sure that only certain people in the family would get this title. And that's a totally another video and another story, and I don't feel like going into that right now. So I was born first, so I get this title. Okay, that's how it goes. And Gran will go overseas, yes he would, and he will make sure that none of the other family members got this title. Put it like that. So he stripped them of their title. And if you don't believe that a person can strip people of their titles, that's another story for another day. But I would implore you to look at King Henry VIII and the story of his lineage, because he had a daughter named Mary. He had a daughter by his second wife named Elizabeth, better known as Elizabeth I, and then a son by the name of Edward. And just to make it real quick, Edward is the third born from his second wife. Edward became his heir. Why? Because King Henry VIII did not want a female heir. He wanted a son. And his first wife tried to give him more children, and she did have more children, but they would die. They would live and they would die. And unfortunately, she wasn't able to give him the son that he wanted. So he divorced from her, tried to divorce from her. That's a whole story. That's why the Church of England was started, because the Pope wouldn't sign off on his divorce from his first wife, because he fancied his second wife, the lady who became his second wife, who became Elizabeth I's mother, Jane, who is the Queen Mom, may she rest in peace, Elizabeth II's mother. Understand? So it's Queen Elizabeth I, it's Queen Elizabeth II, known as the Queen Mom, may she rest in peace. Okay, that's her mother. Well, Edward became the third born child to his second wife, became the heir to the throne. But that never was the case. It was always supposed to be the firstborn. So Mary was supposed to be queen. Once her father died in 15, I think he died in 1537 and 1547, something like that. Once he died. Okay, so it's kind of like that kind of thing. Gran said that they're not going to have titles. And King Henry VIII pretty much did the same thing. He actually bastardized all three of his children for some godforsaken reason. He stripped them of their titles. So they weren't princesses and a prince anymore. He stripped them of their title and gave them a lesser title than even a prince or a princess, because he got mad at them for some reason, and nobody really knows why he got mad at them. It wasn't until his fifth wife came along that the children loved her so much. Prince Edward, Elizabeth I, who was just known as Elizabeth at the time, and Mary loved this woman so much. Specifically Edward and Elizabeth, because King Henry VIII, their father, beheaded their mother Jane. Beheaded her ass. And that's another story. Again, talk to historians, that's another story. But he beheaded her. And the children took to their father's last wife, because this was the last wife he had before he passed away. He died, she was his widow. And she was like a mother to them. The mother that they never had. And she loved them like they were her own children. Like she bore them out of her own womb. Okay? And so it wasn't until she came along that she pretty much pestered and begged King Henry VIII to give Elizabeth, known as Elizabeth I now, because she later, down the road, has another child. She has a child of her own, Elizabeth II. But it wasn't until King Henry's fifth wife comes along that the children are all given titles again. Okay, because their father stripped them of their titles and bastardized them. And back in those days, to bastardize a person is to put like a big scarlet letter on them. And they had to win back the approval of the public the good graces of the public. They had to work really, really hard to win back the good graces of the public. So King Henry VIII gives them back their title, but still says they're bastards. I wasn't married to their moms anyway. They're bastards, but they are princesses and princes. And then here's a prince for you. But these kids, I don't know about these kids. I don't know about these kids. Okay? So I tell you all this to tell you that yes, a royal can strip their children of their titles completely. And if you don't believe me, you may want to see the story of Prince Andrew. That's right. King, now known as King Charles, which he really isn't supposed to be king, because technically speaking, his grandmother, Elizabeth I, his sister, half-sister, Mary, was supposed to be queen, because she's the firstborn, and it always goes to the firstborn child. But King Henry didn't want that. He wanted a son. So he waited until he got a son, and he made his son, King Edward, Prince Edward, king. And when he died, Prince Edward did become king. But unfortunately, he died because he was sickly. Okay? So eventually he dies. But anyway, if you don't believe that a royal can strip their child completely of a title, I suggest you look at the royal family, the British royal family. That is Prince Harry and Prince William. Because Prince Andrew was completely stripped of his title by his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, during his whole scandal. She absolutely stripped him of his title. Don't believe me? May want to speak to the royal watchers about that. People want to know, because she's completely stripped him of his title. And she stripped him of his title because of what he did, and she knew he did it. And it was a disgrace. So she stripped him of his title. It wasn't until, I don't know, the hand of God himself, the Almighty, touched her that she changed her head and her heart, because it was hardened to him. It was hardened to him. And she gave him a title that was less than the title that he was quote-unquote born with, which was Prince. So Prince Andrew is no longer Prince Andrew anymore. He has a lesser title, which is why he and Prince Harry, whose title was also changed, walked behind the royal family, because their titles wasn't the same, wasn't on par. Their peerage wasn't on par with the Queen Mom at the time, may she rest in peace, Prince William, and Prince Charles at the time. Okay? So don't give me this bullshit that people can't be stripped of their titles and all this kind of bullshit, because they can't. That kind of gives you an example of where I'm going with this. So I was born first, and Gran said that I could have this title. And that's a whole other story. And I didn't mean to put it in here, but whatever. But it's a totally different story. Okay, so my half-cousin, Kidada, I believe, tells Chilli over the phone, because remember I told you there's this woman who calls my half-aunt's phone and asks to speak to my cousin Kidada. And I believe that Kidada tells Chilli that my cousin, my half-cousin, is this very special person in the world, because her grandfather, okay, her great-grand, all of them were all special in the world, okay? So she's special in the world. And I can't stand this bitch and blah, 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 blah. And this is where a psychic comes into play. Yes, a psychic. I do believe that Chilli contacted a psychic to confirm this information. Like, a psychic is going to be able to confirm this bullshit. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, really? But okay. So, here I am, home alone, all by myself. All by myself. I love to be all by myself. And my half-cousin, Kidada, who's in 8th grade or 9th grade, isn't home now. So I take a message. And this message is a long-winded message. And she's totally taking shots at me at the time. I don't know if she's taking shots at me. But whatever it was, I was like, what the hell? When I look back in retrospect, this chick is totally throwing shots at me. Okay. So I tell Kidada when she gets home from school that Mary calls. It's called Chilli Mary, because she goes by this alias name. And I say, Mary called. She says, okay. And I tell her the message. She says, okay. So she calls. I believe my half-cousin calls this burner phone that Chilli has, and talks to her on the phone, because I hear her saying something, she, and I think the she she's talking about is me. But I don't pay any attention to it. I'm tired. So my half cousin again asked me about like Usher Raymond. I say no. I was like, it's music, and I think that she told Chilli that I like Usher in like a romantic way. And if I did like him, if I was crushing on him, what would that make me? Like, what, a fucking fan? Like, how many people actually like this bozo? Are you kidding me? So what the fuck ever. So I got a headache even telling the story because it's the most ridiculous shit ever. Okay, so I go to work, and by this time I get let go from my temp job, and I don't know why. But the temp agency calls me up and tells me that I am no longer to report to this assignment. And I'm like, why? What's going on? Is the assignment over? They told me they had more time on this assignment. And she says, well, the supervisor says that you're a problem, and that you're not getting along with the other people. You're standoffish. You're not engaging with the other employees and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not my job. My job is to come here, do my work, and leave. I'm not here to break bread with these people, have conversations, any of that. So I automatically know it's a supervisor. I do believe the temp agency representative on the phone when she says that somebody, and that somebody being the supervisor, has complained about me being there. And like I said, I say to myself, I'm not a people person, and I don't owe anybody anything. So I call my mother up, because my mother is the one who would drop me off and pick me up from this assignment. And I would pay my mom, money. I would give her gas money to do it. And my mom calls. Call my mom, and she's like, well, what's going on? I said, Mommy, come and pick me up. And she goes, why? What's going on? I said, Mommy, just pick me up. I'm pissed off, right? I'm pissed. I'm not in a good mood because I've just been terminated from a job for no fucking reason. Because some black bitch at this fucking assignment doesn't like me. Because I'm not kissing ass and I'm not breaking bread with them. I don't owe them and nobody else that shit. I come there, I do my job, and I fucking leave. So I said, Mommy, just come and pick me up. She said, okay. So my mom, she comes and she picks me up. And this is like almost like the middle of the day kind of thing. So she picks me up, and I'm pissed, and I don't want to talk. And I get to my half aunt's house, who I was staying with, and I'm there, and I'm not in a good mood. And then eventually my half cousin gets home, and there's nothing that really goes on. But I think a couple of days after that, my half cousin asked me, am I still submitting entries to the TLC contest? And I think she's asking me this because it was prompted by Chilli. Because Chilli probably asked her, or probably told her, because I told you, they had a conversation on the phone the second time when I took a message. And I believe that my half cousin, Kidada, called her back. And I think there may have been another phone call that may have been made that I didn't answer. But my half cousin Kidada asked me, are you submitting entries to this contest? Now, I told you, I had been working. I had a temp job, and I had been working, and I had forgotten all about this contest. And I was tired, and I was pissed off that Chilli had given out my little fan technique. And then on top of that, I didn't really want to spend my money on stamps, even though I was probably being cheap, because I definitely had the money. I mean, I had money to buy my half cousin, the firstborn half cousin, her son, like this WWE ring